the winter race. The first floating snowball could have been a fluke. The second one definitely wasn't. Did you guys see that? Marcus Chen stopped mid-throw, his carefully packed snowball forgotten, as he watched Katie Rodriguez's projectile drift lazily toward the clouds. The 6th grade winter recess had started normally enough. The first real snow of the season meant epic snowball battles on Westbrook Middle School's playground. But now a dozen kids stood slack-jawed, watching their ammunition defy gravity. "Try it again," Sophie Williams called out. Her own snowball hung suspended about 10 feet up, rotating slowly like a miniature planet. Katie packed another ball and threw it straight ahead. It traveled normally until it crossed the playground's painted boundary line. Then, as if hitting an invisible current, it began to float upward. "The basketball court!" Marcus pointed to where Thomas had just thrown a snowball. It followed a normal arc, landing with a soft puff on the blacktop. "It only happens inside the playground." Soon 30 kids were conducting experiments with scientific precision that would have impressed their teachers. They mapped the exact boundaries of what they called the float zone. They tested different sizes of snowballs, different throwing speeds, different angles. "Look!" Sophie had climbed to the top of the slide. "If you throw them high enough, they disappear into the clouds." That's when Katie had her brilliant idea. Reverse snowball fight. The rules evolved quickly. 2 teams starting at opposite ends of the playground, points for catching floating snowballs before they drifted too high. Bonus points for catching them with creative moves, leaps, spins, or Sophie's signature move, sliding down the fire pole to snag them mid-descent. For 2 magical weeks, reverse snowball fights dominated recess. Kids who usually stayed inside begged to join the games. Even the teachers seemed fascinated, though they insisted on calling it an interesting meteorological phenomenon. Then came the announcement. The playground would be renovated during spring break. New equipment, new safety surfacing, new everything. But what about the float zone? Katie worried during their last winter game. What if they destroy it? "Maybe it's better that way," Thomas said, catching a snowball that had been floating for nearly 10 minutes. "What if someone official investigates? They might close the whole playground." Spring break arrived with construction crews and heavy machinery. The kids watched from classroom windows as their beloved playground was demolished. The float zone disappeared under fresh concrete and rubber safety tiles. When they returned to school, everything looked different. Modern climbing structures replaced the old metal ones. The traditional swings were gone, replaced by inclusive swing seats. Even the blacktop had been repaved, sporting fresh lines for basketball and for square. During the first recess, Katie picked up a rubber ball to test the new basketball court. It floated straight up into the spring breeze. "No way." Marcus breathed, watching the ball disappear over the roof. More balls followed. Tennis balls, kickballs, even Sophie's precious hacky sack. Anything thrown within the new court's boundaries simply drifted away. The float zone moved. Katie's eyes shone with excitement. But why here? Why did it follow us? The answer came 2 days later, when Sophie noticed a crack in the new concrete. Beneath it gleamed something metallic. a perfect sphere about the size of a marble covered in strange symbols. "They look like game rules," Marcus said, studying the tiny markings. "See? This part repeats, like points or scoring." "That's not English," Thomas pointed out. "That's not any language I've ever seen." As they watched, the symbols shifted slightly, rearranging themselves like players on a game board. One pattern looked suspiciously like their reverse snowball fight rules. "I don't think we invented that game," Katie said slowly. "I think we rediscovered it." They kept the sphere secret, buried beneath the basketball court, where its strange influence could safely entertain generations of students to come. They never learned its true origin, but they had theories. Some thought it was an alien artifact, a piece of cosmic playground equipment left behind by interstellar children. Others suggested it was technology from the future, designed to teach kids about anti-gravity physics through play. Sophie insisted it was magic, pure and simple. The truth, as usual, was stranger than any of their theories. Years later, during another playground renovation, workers found dozens of identical spheres buried at schools across the city. Each one had activated differently. Floating dodgeballs at Roosevelt Elementary, levitating jump ropes at Washington Middle School, anti-gravity tetherball at Lincoln Junior High. And at each school, security footage showed the same figure, a girl in a blue sweater, burying metallic spheres late at night, consulting what looked like a star map. Some say if you visit Westbrook Middle School on a snowy day, you might see kids playing impossible games with floating balls. If you look closely at the basketball court, you might notice strange symbols shimmering beneath the surface. But be careful if you decide to join their game. The float zone has rules older than our planet, written in a language older than time. And somewhere out there, other spheres wait to be discovered, ready to transform ordinary playgrounds into something extraordinary. Just remember, if you find one, bury it somewhere safe. The next generation of players is always watching, ready to learn the ancient games that fall from the stars. The winter games that were never really ours to begin with. Last week, construction began on a new playground across town. Late at night, if you watch carefully, you might see a familiar figure with a blue sweater and a star map, carefully burying something that glows. The games continue. And gravity? Well, that's always been optional.